Hello, this is Ifan here to provide you a deck tech on Tamir PolyTyrant. This is the deck I took to the finals of the Tier 1 tournament in February. I discovered this deck while playing with the creator Tangelo. Since then, I have been closely collaborating with him to optimize all the lines. I chose to play this deck because it's resilient and can pivot between three main combos. The first combo I'd like to show you is the Tidespout Tyrant combo. This combo is accomplished by getting the Tidespout Tyrant onto the field. Then you're able to use a mana positive rock, plus something else that will remain mana positive, such as Rogrek, since it costs 0, to be able to cast one, bouncing the other, and before that you're tapping it for mana. This is going to then let you cast the one you just bounced, to be able to bounce the enabler piece, and create infinite mana. Once you have infinite mana, as long as either Thrasios is on the battlefield or you can cast him, you can pour infinite mana into Thrasios, draw your deck, and then use Time Twister loops to be able to win. Now, something to remember is you must be able to get Thrasios on the field or have him on the field to be able to win this way, which is infinite colorless mana. So infinite colorless mana does not necessarily get you there. Now, the crux of this combo is that the Tyrant costs 8 mana. So what we're going to do is we're going to cheat them out using polymorph effects. Polymorph effects are effects that require you to have 0 creatures or 1 creature, being the creature you want to get out in your library, and then use an effect that's going to get him on the field. We run 6 of these currently, including polymorph and transmortify. Those are basic, but we do run 4 that are worth talking about. So the first 2 I'm going to show you come into effect when someone has cast a Rule of Law effect, because this type of stacks effect will not allow us to cast another spell to start our combo. If we cast a polymorph effect on the turn, if we cast a polymorph effect on our turn, so we have 2 options. We can cast Divergent Transformations at instant speed at the end of the turn before ours. This is going to free us up to cast a spell on our turn to bounce the Rule of Law effect. This also can act like removal by polymorphing an opponent's creature as well as ours, because this is going to polymorph 2 creatures. We can also go ahead and have cast Proteus Staff before our turn, be able to activate it, and be able to put a creature on the bottom of our deck, get our Tidespout, or in our command zone, get our Tidespout out, and then we're able to cast our first spell, bouncing the Rule of Law effect. Now, Proteus Staff has another use. Once a PolyTyrant is not in our deck, then we can activate it on a commander of ours to allow us to then place our library in any order we choose and raise our chance of winning drastically. The next polymorph effect that I'd like to talk about is going to be Reality Shift. Reality Shift is extremely strong because it allows us to retrace, which means we can discard a land from our hand and then cast this card for its CMC, or for its mana cost. So basically, this turns every single land in our hand into a Reality Shift of its own. The last effect I'm going to mention is my personal favorite. It's Oath of the Druids. So this effect allows each player who has less creatures than an opponent to mill themselves till they hit a creature and put it on the field. This is extremely strong since it only costs 1 and a green, and even after you get the Tidespout out, it can be used to mill your deck. You can then cast Memory's Journey and put Underworld Breach on top of your deck. Then you're able to cast Underworld Breach and go for the win, because you have your whole deck in your graveyard. One word of caution is that you need to be aware that if an Urza deck is at the table, or any other possible polymorph deck is at the table, then you can end up giving them the win. So you need to just be aware of what's in your current meta at the time. The next combo we run is Underworld Breach, Lion's Eye Diamond, and Brain Freeze. This is a very typical combo. Pretty much everyone's aware of how it works. You mill your deck and use Lion's Eye Diamond to keep creating mana. This will then allow us to set up a Tidespout combo. We're also running the Icecrown Scepter Dramatic combo. This is something people are familiar with for the most part. You create more than 2 mana with mana rocks or mana producing permanents, and you're able to cast Dramatic Reversal over and over again, netting infinite mana. Very, very simple combo, something that's just too good to not run in the deck. We're also running a very extensive tutor package. Intuition by far is the most versatile in this deck because it can either be reactive or proactive. Often when acting reactive, what we're going to do is grab a counter and either Brain Freeze, Memories Journey, Reality Scramble, or Lion's Eye Diamond to help us be able to set up for a future win. This can help us shuffle the Tyrant in the deck with the Memories Journey, get a Polymorph effect by getting the Reality Scramble, or prepare for the Breach combo. Proactively, what we can do is cast this and get Reality Scramble and 2 lands so we can have a Polymorph effect available. Now, with Intuition, we're not going to usually want to grab Underworld Breach like we normally would. We do not usually have a way to be able to put this card either on the field or back on top of our library, unless we have unless we're have Noxious Revival in hand. So it's something to be aware of. That's not a line you're going to usually go for. Now, the next tutor we're running is Muddle and Mixture. This one will go get us 2 drops. So we're running a lot of valuable 2 drops. We're running Underworld Breach, Isochron Scepter, Dramatic Reversal, Oath of Druids, Memories Journey if we need to shuffle our Tidespout back into our deck. So a lot of useful 2 drops that we could be getting with that. Otherwise, we're running Mystical Tutor, can get us a Polymorph effect. Gamble can get us anything we want. Fabricate, we're going to usually use to be getting a mana positive rock. And the same with Transmute Artifact. They can also grab a Polymorph effect via the Proteus Staff. Now, we're also running several things that are supposed to be helping us either avoid drawing the Tyrant or supposed to put it back on top of our library if we do. Now, we can use Ponder or Preordain to get a look at the top of our library and put the Tyrant either to the bottom or shuffle it back in if it's near the top. Brainstorm is useful because it will put the Tyrant right back on top. We can crack a fetch land and shuffle it into our deck. Now, what's really nice about these is they're also just really good basic cantrips that are just staples of format. Now, we're also running an intense amount of counter magic for such a turbo style combo deck. So we're able to run Veil of Summer, Mental Misstep, Flusterstorm, Mana Drain, all the staples of the format. And we're able to run so many because we're not reliant on having creatures in the deck. So it opens up a lot of free space to be able to run a very, very good control package. And a lot of times you're going to be sandbagging this control so that way you can just go for the win on your turn. Now, we're also going to be running 4 wheels. So we're running Time Twister, we're running Windfall, and we're running Wheel of Fortune and Wheel of Misfortune. And so these all are going to pair up well with Narset. They're going to be able to get, they're going to be able to refill our hand. And at the end of the game, these actually help us set up our actual win. Because drawing your deck is not necessarily just the win. We have to be able to get there. And we use these wheels to help do that. I will be explaining that in the future. The next package to note is going to be the Commander Matters package. Now, the Commander Matters package is basically centered around the fact that we have Rograk, and we can cast them so early in the game. So getting one of these pieces is going to give us quite the advantage. So this includes Jessica's Will, which when we're able to cast a turn 1, we have a pretty decent chance of winning through being able to cast a PolyTyrant effect and win and go off that way. We're also running a couple pieces that are going to ramp us in the Springleaf Drum and Paradise Mantle. And then we're running just some control pieces in Fierce Guardianship and Deflecting Swat. So just having that 0-drop commander really does help with these pieces. There's no reason not to be running them in this case. One of the next things to note is going to be our lands package. Now we're able, due to our colors, not to have to worry about life for the most part. We're going to usually be at a pretty high life total. We are playing Sylvan Library, so that is one of the exceptions to that. But for most of the part, we're not worried about our life. So we're able to run things like Barbarian Ring. Barbarian Ring is going to be able to remove a Hull Breacher or an opposition agent if we need to. A lot of times we're not going to need to, but just in case someone casts a wheel, we're going to get Hull Breachered. I can let it resolve and just remove it. There's just no reason not to be playing in the deck. Cephalid Coliseum is really good if we have a Thassa's Oracle player. It can put them off their Thassa's Oracle. You can also surprise people with this. A lot of people don't see it coming. So you just crack it, make them draw out after they've exiled their library, and they just lose the game in response to the trigger. We're also running Teleria West. That's going to get our 0-drops. So that's going to go get our Lion's Eye Diamond or a Mana Pos rock such as Mox Amber or Mana Crypt. So very, very good card. We're running Forbidden Orchard. This helps enable our Oath of Druids combo, so we can guarantee that someone's going to have a creature right before our turn comes up. Then we're running Emergent Zone. This is by far my favorite land in the deck. This allows us to be able to win over anyone else's win and just sandbag all that interaction. Now we're also able to go ahead and run Crop Rotation to be able to grab these when we need it. So we can surprise someone with a Cephalid Coliseum when they're not really thinking about it. It also, for the ones that need Threshold, we'll put 2 cards in your graveyard. So you can really boost your graveyard with it too. And then this also acts as a combo enabler to start your Tidespout combo. There's many pieces like that in this deck. Now that we're familiar with the combos in the deck and with most of the packages in the deck, we can now talk about how we actually win. So once we've gotten to the point where we have infinite mana, where we got our Tidespout out, we've casted infinite spells because we're bouncing those spells back and forth. We're now able to draw our deck, so we have access to our deck. We're then able to cast a bunch of spells out of our deck and keep casting spells out of our deck. This is going to then allow us to go ahead and bounce every permanent on everyone's board. So now they have no board state. Their board state is sitting in their hands. So once we've got their board state in their hands, then we're going to cast out in our set that we talked about earlier. This is going to then help you be able to remove those hands, because what we'll do is cast like a Time Twister or any of the other wheels. Time Twister is the one I usually use. That's going to then shuffle everything away. They're going to draw 1 card. We then have access to our library, which is why I like Time Twister. So if I need to, I can draw into a counter spell if they get something that can try to stop me. Otherwise, I'm just going to go, okay, I'm going to continue. I'm going to then cast another wheel. Now I often want to use Time Twister as that wheel also. Now they have no hand. So they have no hand. They have no board state. So now we just have a deck, and that's all we have to deal with. Well, what's nice about our Underworld Breach combo is it plays Brain Freeze. Brain Freeze will then remove their whole entire deck. So now they have no deck. Their deck's in their graveyard. They have no hand. They have no board state. So now what we can do is we can just go ahead, dig for either Windfall or Wheel of Fortune, cast either one of them, bouncing our set. Then they will go to draw, and they will lose the game. Now, this works 99.9% of the time. The times it does not work is in the situation that someone is playing a Shuffle Hulk. So if someone is playing a Shuffle Hulk and you've just wheeled, they got a new 7 in hand, you're going to still be able to counter everything they do. You're going to probably play, what you'll do is probably play Narset out, then wheel again, get rid of their hands. You don't want them to have a hand. Now that you've gotten rid of their hand, what you can do is you can go ahead and bounce, or after they have no hand, what you can do is you can go ahead and create infinite swans. You'll be doing this by continuously cycling your deck using Time Twister. You can use Noxious Revival to put it right back on top of your library, and then it'll cycle when you cast it back in your library. So you have those loops with Time Twister. You're going to then be able to use Swan Song, and you'll be able to use any other spell in the deck. You can cast anything you want that can be countered with Swan Song. It'll create a swan. You're going to do this infinitely. You're going to make a whole ton of swans, enough to kill them. I always say 1 trillion just so I'm safe. And then you're going to pass turn to them. You'll have a full grip of 7. You'll have your whole entire deck available to you to counter anything they have, and they'll have the opportunity to draw 1 card. So that one card you'll be able to handle no matter what. They'll have to pass back to you. You swing swans out at them on your turn and kill them with combat damage. So it takes care of those shuffle hulks. Now that you have that set, so you're able to win. So a couple things to note is I am playing a lot of just staples of the format that just help get this stuff started, such as Gataxian Probe, Rhystic Steady, just good draw engines, Sylvan Lyre, saying Mystic Remora. There's just no reason to play those. Otherwise, on lands, it's a very typical land package. You're playing Crystal Vein, which is typical in a deck like this. Gemstone Caverns, just things that are going to help you boost your mana up quickly because you want to win with this deck as quickly as you can. You really enjoy that. Now, in terms of decks you want to be able to see at the table, I really enjoy seeing those decks that are playing a lot of stacks pieces. It just really helps. You're able to set up a really good instant speed win usually with those at the table. Everyone's trying to deal with those, and they really don't affect you most of the time. Now, this deck is something I would recommend to somebody who is very able to pivot on lines. If you're not able to pivot on your lines, then a lot of times you're going to get you're going to get stuck on one line and just really not be able to do well with this deck. It seems very simple on the surface, but there's so many different ways to go about presenting each one of these combos. And again, you want to be able to do it at instant speed if you can. Now, this deck is exactly where I want it. I really enjoy how it's presenting itself, and I'm really looking forward to the next Tier1Con. Thank you, and have a good rest of your day.